everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dwarven Tavern Radio. I'm your host, Jeff Goins, and with me in the tavern today are...
Lyric. Nice to meet ya.
And...
Josh.
And...
Ian.
Hey.
For once in his
I know, right?
Yeah.
basement life.
I live down here and I don't even record.
Well, it is the dungeon. You're hanging from the wall, so you're busy.
We just so happen to have a microphone that we could set up next to him, so that he can hang from the wall freely and not worry about the microphone.
It has to be really tall to actually get up here.
Yeah, so
Chance.
With that excitement out of the way,
Lips and
we have news for all of our listeners. We are going to be at Gen Con this year from August, the 15th through the 18th? Yeah.
Because it will be on one of our Taverniers' birthday.
That's right. One of the Taverniers.
Whose birthday?
Lindsay.
Oh.
It's Tavernier Lindsay's birthday.
Happy birthday.
On the 18th, so... We will be celebrating that. Hopefully she'll be there too.
I knew it wasn't yours, so...
Well, at least you know something.
That's always a good start. I
know what's important.
Yes, you do. And that is true. So we are going to be hanging out in Gen Con with all of our old friends and hopefully a bunch of new ones.
Condenser mic.
Condenser mics, yes.
You cannot avoid it hearing you.
That was a monster from the kitchen.
Yeah, plus all the other three mics that are set up.
Yeah, totally.
Table 5 picks up really well on that microphone.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking to people and getting the different opinions and getting some new games to review. We actually have a game to review in this show. So, do you guys have anything that you would like to announce or talk about?
Well, actually, Josh and I have been working on the website for Dwarven Tavern. You yourself, actually, Dad, you have been working. What?
I know
You yourself
who myself
and
Jeff knows who he is and he knows what he's been doing.
So,
You've been working on the website design. Josh and I have been working on a new feature to the website, which is the Dwarven Tavern merchandise store. We have been making funny t-shirts and...
you said funny t-shirts, huh?
We've been making t-shirts with comedy on it and other merchandise like cups and mugs and posters, banners, whatnot.
Yeah, I have seen some of them, and there are two things that I am going to get actually.
I want a stein
bad. The mug, yeah, the big stein, and the flask are two things.
I actually want the 18 charisma for a half work t-shirt. That's the one I want.
I'm probably going to get the bag for school.
Yeah, they have I really want the DTR messenger bag.
Yes.
That looks really cool.
Once I get an iPad, I'll get the cover too.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Or a
Yeah,
Kindle
I can't
cover,
wait to-
or an iPhone cover.
So
That's my announcement.
That's very cool. Anybody else? Anyone else have anything to talk about? We are actually working on I'm going to turn it on like that. We are actually working on a new website for the Dwarven Tavern. Dwarven Tavern. I said it like that. But we're in a tavern, so of course, when you get into a place, you start picking up the accent of that place, and our barmaid, old Toothless, she's anyway. We do actually have a couple of questions. We had a couple emails from a couple of fans, a couple of our listeners, who wanted us to talk about a few things. We have an email from Pete in Washington who said, "How do you handle noobs, and what does it mean to be a good role player to your group?" Anybody want to field that?
How do you handle noobs?
Noobs. I think what he's talking about is how do we handle new players or people
people who don't actually understand the basics of roleplay.
Well, you're a very good DM for new players. Why don't you go ahead and take the...
Yeah, what do you do when you have a newbie come in who doesn't have much experience role playing?
Well, there's a lot of things you can do. Well, that kind of being the DM, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
but it really depends on where they lack experience. If they really like things to be really powerful, you can give them a taste of the power and then just completely remove it so they understand what they're missing and why they needed it in the first place. Make them appreciate it. And it'll also add a lot of character building because the character and the player both have to figure out how to deal with the lack of power after they've had it.
That's an interesting.
And you can also take the exact opposite approach. Make them, struggle for the power. So the character has to get it and they've earned it.
Okay, well, what if they have, and that actually brings us to our second question: is what do players do to stay in character? This is from Bill in Los Angeles. He emailed us earlier. What do you do to keep your players from breaking that fourth wall?
Well, I can take that one.
No, of course.
I have a lot of characters who do like to break the fourth wall. They like to ask me certain things about what device I'm giving them. And I think that's more for the DM to take over, because we played a campaign recently where I explained something happening to a certain character. It was a princess in the room. She was chanting a spell, and she was glowing, and then everyone around her started to glow, and those were including the players. And then after I was done explaining everything, I told them that I was breaking the fourth wall. I said, okay, breaking the fourth wall, you all get a +2 to this and that and blah, blah, blah.
Right, yes.
And then everyone was like, oh, okay, so they wrote it down, and then we went straight back into character. As a player, if you want to stay in character, it's really hard when the other players around you don't. But if you set an example and stay in character, a little more than everyone else, maybe you can lead by example.
Okay, that makes sense. What I usually do as a dungeon master is I'll just reach over and smack the crap out of them.
Oh, you got me with a mouthful of water.
No, actually, what I do as a dungeon master is I give rewards. As you all know, I give rewards for good role playing.
That's a good way to reinforce it.
Yeah, and it's more effective than taking away, because I played under a dungeon master once who actually penalized everybody 10,000 experience points.
Dear God.
Because
that's a little extreme.
It was very extreme, and he held up a sign that said -10,000 experience points, and we're like, what are you talking about? And he said, none of you got this. And it was a ship that was built from and on the elemental plane of fire. And
I remember this story.
Yeah. It was from the elemental plane.
And he was like, that bucket of water, and everyone was like, it's a bucket.
It's a single bucket.
And you're trying to put out an entire warship.
Yeah, and it's made of fire. It's like made of fire. It's made of wood that is made of fire. It was from
elemental plane of fire. Everything there is fire.
So why couldn't someone enchant it and make it a multitude of water?
Well, everyone made all their suggestions, and he didn't like the way.
Oh, so what happened was, he was like, okay, this is my... What?
Nothing.
Continue. He was like, what?
He's like, this is my explanation of how this should be done. All of your guys' stuff is completely inadequate.
Right. And he wasn't, yeah. So he didn't like our ideas, and that's really kind of beside the point. What the point is that he penalized everybody for something that, we didn't agree with, instead of rewarding us for not dragging him out into the parking lot and beating him to death with tire irons, which was what I was ready to do by the time. And I'm really not a violent guy to all my listeners. I'm not.
Yeah, totally.
He's a big teddy bear with an axe.
Well, So anyway, I like to reward my players for good role playing. And when they do something good, I'll give them 25, 50, 100, whatever, right there on the spot for role playing well. And I know that back to the first question. The second part of the first question is, what does it mean to be a good role player to your group?
Besides everything.
What does it mean? Well, don't overdo it, because overdoing it is just as bad as underdoing it.
Right.
There's a strict medium that you have to find, and it's kind of a touchy-feely area where you have to actually smooth into what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah.
As a good role player, like, you don't want to be acting as your character even if you're not in the campaign.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be like, I'm a barbarian, I'm going to kill everybody, and you're standing there while everyone else is getting pizza, like,
you're standing there and you reach in front, grab a handful of chips out of somebody else's plate, push somebody next to you over.
You're not going to get any favor from that.
Well, unless everybody's doing it, then it's probably going to be hilarious.
If everybody's doing it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're the only one that's doing it, then you're overdoing your part.
If everyone's doing it, you're in college.
Especially if you've got like 3 or 4 barbarian characters all in the same campaign, all acting like barbarians for the entire time they're at your house. That would be hilarious.
I did play in a group where a friend of mine, it was a college setting, and a friend of mine invited me to come down to the campus to play with them, and he and a friend of his, I brought my character Gazaron, and he and a friend of his were playing a pair of swashbuckling corsairs.
Awesome.
And he actually did a flip over the table to get over to the chips. He's like, well, I don't even remember what his name was. He was like, so go and fetch the chips, and he's like, I shall. And he did the handstand on the table and went whoop over. Oh my god!
Greatest thing ever.
Incredibly awesome.
I think those are good examples of how to make it into a joke.
Right.
But when
Yeah.
people are completely serious about it, then it's kind of.
I do have a really good example of just like over role playing. I can't remember his name, but we had an all guys campaign.
I think we've mentioned this before.
Yeah, we may have.
Yeah.
He was playing a monk, if I remember correctly. And when we were talking to each other just as people, like completely out of game, he just sat there with his arms crossed. And we're like, why are you saying anything? He's like, because I'm a monk. He's like, we're not role playing right now. And he just didn't stop, and it got really aggravating after a while because we couldn't get any input.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you repeat the question?
What does it mean to be a good role player to your group? And I think you guys have just described it to a T, and that's a balance.
Yeah.
You have to because a lot of people, and this is what caused D&D and role playing so much trouble in the dim and distant past. Was that people were taking it too far.
Yeah.
And, the movie Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks was just pitiful.
Do not mention that in my presence.
yeah, and visiting the Great Hall, etc.
Oh God! Even the Dungeons and Dragons movies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
When you take it too
times.
far, when you take it too far, you don't distinguish between reality and fantasy. It gets out of hand, and people can get hurt or at least get annoying. Which around me that usually gets them hurt. But
Well, I'm
not a violent guy. I'm really, really not a violent guy.
We're mostly talking about how to overdo it. Well, you can also underdo it, which is more often than not what happens.
That is easy to do. It is easy to underdo it.
When you're asking the dungeon master, oh, so what do you want me to do? It's like, well, what does your character do? Well, I think maybe I should do this, but I don't know. What should I do?
That's one of that is one of my biggest pet peeves in the game. Is
so many of my friends have done that.
And I've had some really experienced players.
Ian is a good example of how to roleplay because he.
I thought you were going to say I'm a good example of a bad example.
No.
Example of what it means to suck.
No, when you get into a character, Josh does this too. You roll the dice to see what your character is going to decide. You ask the character himself or herself what they would do in the situation.
The dice don't lie.
And you roll, and if it's high or low, that character does it or does not do it, even if that differs from what you're expecting the character to say. Like when Josh's character Niven, when he mentally destroyed that guard, That was a perfect example because I was not expecting that from Josh, but that wasn't Josh. That was Niven.
It was Niven, and he was role playing Niven as Niven. And
Yeah, and that's a great example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's a tip that I guess we can bestow upon our listeners is that if you are unsure how to make yourself a better role player, is ask your character, would you do this? Roll the dice, and just depending on the roll, is their yes or no.
Right. And
Also,
it's usually a percentile dice.
Yeah. One thing you should practically never do is constantly change out your dice for your characters, because the dice will act differently for the character.
Yeah,
Almost
and
every time.
As odd as that sounds, it's really true.
It's
I'm sure
just something that happens. Yeah, I'm almost certain everyone gets what I'm talking about.
You know what we're talking
You know what I'm. It's like this guy uses the blue set. We can't play. It's like, why? 'Cause I don't have my blue set. Like, oh yeah.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well,
Just
so
like
get a different one.
Savell has some magenta dice, and
Yeah.
Niven has. What does Niven have? What color dice does Niven have?
What's the word when they're clear?
Like marbled or clear?
Like transparent?
They're transparent?
Are they opaque?
No, that's transparent.
Yeah,
Opaque
they're,
is the opposite of...
Transparent green dice.
Yeah,
I
see,
pretty much use them for
It's like
They're like
old,
and
green
you
crystals.
just
Yeah.
can't play that character.
but it's
without
like
those
a
dice.
old.
I know from experience.
Yeah.
I tried to play, and it wasn't Niven, it was Cillian. And I didn't have his dice. I left him at my apartment, and I had my dice bag, but had the wrong dice, and everything I did was just bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was rolled.
Yeah,
just
like I tried to use
fumble, 4, 3, fumble.
I tried to use carousel dice, the ones that
Yeah.
look like cotton candy,
Yeah.
with polka dots, and I tried to use those for Savell, and she's a warrior, and she just demolished
And you
everything.
That's awesome.
And, a lot of people say, well, that's, BS or whatever, but you can't argue with the actual numbers that appear in front of you.
Yeah, it's like a great example of that would be in Scavrius. Still Silvanorio.
Scavrius Vasilinelrio.
Yes. He had a very specific. Yeah.
He's a wood elf.
You should actually explain him. He's a
Well,
very good character.
He, in Scavrius, is a wood elf, and he's an archer. Somewhat of a... I don't know, he's kind of like a sidekick type,
But he's still awesome.
but he turned out to be far more awesome than I thought he was.
Like
I mean,
every single
his-
time he introduces himself is just awesome.
Scavrius
Vasilinelrio!
on the top of a cliff with the sun shining and birds flying
Ta-da!
overhead.
And he's a hysterical archer. He's like what, 3rd level right now?
He's actually, I think he's 5th level.
5th level?
He's such a good archer.
Did you guys game when I wasn't here or something?
No?
Better not.
No, no, he leveled up the last time we played.
Yeah.
Oh,
he
okay,
did.
okay. But he's got, I think, like 2 feats that are like they're just okay, but in Scavrius makes them awesome.
No, they're little
He's
elf
got
feet.
little tiny-
little curly
Little
elf
tiny.
feet.
Really?
Yes, he went there, but in Scavrius's dice are terrible in some situations. Sometimes he's like 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah,
He rolled 5 like 6 times in a row, and no one understood why. But we kept the set, and then when he had to do something important, he just nat 20, nat 20,
I
nat
remember
20.
when when Scavrius and Josh's paladin that I can never remember the name of, Aldous, when they saved the dragon's child, who's in the shape of a little girl. When they saved it, I remember you guys role playing. That was freaking amazing because the Scavrius was like, oh my god, it's giant dragons. And Altrotus was like, Altrotus? No.
No, Aldous.
Aldous! I keep getting the 2 names mixed up.
No.
But Aldous was just like, we must slay it because he's a paladin. And it was perfect. It was perfect.
It was. It was good. That was good. That was good. It was good role playing.
But yeah,
But the dice don't lie, and for whatever reason. And plus, okay, I have another piece of little anecdotal evidence here. I was giving a seminar at Gen Con on how to introduce music and orchestration, not just music.
one of the most important things ever.
Yes.
Yeah,
To
definitely.
introduce orchestration into your campaign and I was talking to people, and some of the, I think Wizards and a couple other really wonderful companies gave me some stuff to give away at my seminars. And when I was finished, I was going to have somebody, everybody was going to roll the die, the 20-sided die, and whoever got the highest number got something. And we did that for everybody present, so everybody got something. But it was just a matter of rolling the dice is what it was. Everybody wanted to roll the dice so they could feel like a winner. So the first person got their pick, and I had enough of everything for everybody, so it didn't matter. It was just a lot of fun. And I had my sterling silver set of dice that I got from Crystal Cast. And I think they're still. I hope they're still around. They're really nice guys.
Yeah,
they've got some.
Yeah, it's
they've got some super dice.
We may have got them to review how good they actually were, and probably my favorite set I have.
Your steels.
The stainless steel.
Stainless steel dice.
It's like I may have gotten them because of my position, but I would totally go back and buy like 5 or 6 sets just to have more of them.
Well,
just to have a small bag of amazing.
Yeah. Well, you might be able to do that this time.
Yeah, so, very, very good dice.
We were rolling these silver dice, it was a silver 20, and the high roller won. And a couple people died. And this one guy who had a unibrow, he was joking about how the die burned him because everybody made fun of him because he had a unibrow, and the
right.
What is the unibrow a sign of?
It is a sign. It was an old English way to discern a person is a werewolf.
Right. And he was like, "Oh, it's silver. I can't touch it." And he was the last guy out because the die rolled 1s and 2s for him. And I'm like, I'm really actually starting to think. And everybody else was doing fine. They were rolling 17s, 15s, 10s. He was rolling 1s, 2s. He didn't roll over a 3 the entire time. And there's like 50 people there. And so that means that he went through 50 rounds of this and didn't roll over a 4 the entire time. And I'm like, dude, I really hate to bring this up, but I think you might actually be a werewolf. Because my silver dice do not like you. And he's like, I'm not a werewolf. Like,
it's nothing to be ashamed of.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. They have treatments. There's a shampoo you can get.
It's okay.
You just shop at PetSmart and you'll be fine.
You can control the urges, trust me.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
So but the dice don't lie, and it's really an interesting phenomenon. I don't even know how we got on this subject, but it's a very cool one.
It's role playing.
Role playing. Oh, that's right, because we were talking about percentile dice.
Yes.
To discern what your character can do or will do. So you roll. Now your technique is just pure random. You roll a percent.
I take the percentile dice, I roll them on the character. If you don't roll it on the character, it just doesn't work. You roll on the character, and that's the percent that they will or will not do it.
Right.
You roll under that, getting in the percentage, and that is the yes, pretty much.
Right.
And sometimes I have rolled, like, it would be obvious for the character to do this, and they just, no, absolutely refuse.
Okay, so do you ever... one thing that I do sometimes on occasion is to... I will take and say, well, there's a 20% chance. There's a slight chance to a medium chance to a good chance something's going to happen. And I'll just assign a number to only have to roll once, which is, that's pretty easy to do. It's like, he's got a pretty good chance to do it 70. If I roll under 75, then he'll do it. Or whatever. And so that's another technique that I use for pure random. Or a little less than pure random, because not everything is purely random. It's like, well, I'm going to try and, try and convince this guy to do something for me that he doesn't really want to do. Well, if he doesn't really want to do it, then that means the odds are against you. So, you roll it, and if the odds are against you, then there's probably a 30 or 40% chance, maybe lower, less. And there you have it. So we are going to take a short break, and when we return...
we will do the Fluxx board game review.
We will do the Fluxx board game review, and so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. This is Dwarven Tavern Radio.
between you and your salvation. So lay yourself to sling the holy bone. This moment can only be described as critical as you charge the darkness, fearless and alone. Your only ally is the trusty axe you wield, or your book of ancient law that makes the blood run thin. So take a breath and let the game begin. Let the games begin. Let the dragons in. Play the game and play the game to win. Time is wearing thin. Deep the top you're in. So cast a die and let the games begin. Let the games begin. Let the dragons in. Play the game and play the game to win. Time is wearing thin. Deep the top you're in. So cast a die and let the games. Cast the die and let the games. Cast the die and let the games begin.
And we're back, and we have a panel of reviewers this time. I didn't actually get to play this game this time.
How sad.
Well,
It's very fun.
I haven't played it yet. I'll put it that way. 'Cause
Of course.
I intend to play because I love Looney Labs and all
it's so
the
fun.
very cool
It's
things.
So
So,
fun.
so you guys take it away. What is the game? What's it about? How fun was it?
You take this.
I will read, or Josh will read the small excerpt of what, like, what's it called?
I can't sound that.
Once we get his links back in.
Will you please read the description?
I got you. Well, the Fluxx board game is pretty similar to the rest of them. The rest of the card games. You got the same card types, actions, rules, goals, all that good stuff. Pretty much the only thing that changes is you have board pieces you have to move around. But basically, it's a game about change that changes as you play it. It's never the same game twice. Just about everything in this game is in flux, obviously, because that's the name of it. The number of cards you draw and play each turn, how many times you move your pieces, even the arrangement of the game board, which you can pick up and move depending on the rules. You win by you win like you win all the other Fluxx games. You follow the goal cards, but now that you got pieces, your objective is to move your pawn over to the goal card and try not to get knocked out of the way by the other players.
Okay.
It was really fun. It's a game that says that it lasts like 20 to 40 minutes, but every time we played, it was like 5 to 8 minutes tops.
Really?
Because we were just the only reason that it was taking so long is because we were having conversations.
Trying to read all the cards.
Like, what does this say?
It's like oh, I know what the cookies does. I know where I'm going.
So it's a really fast game, really really fast. And
At least
it's
for
not
us.
it's not fast in a bad way. Like you don't get overwhelmed at all. You're just like, all of a sudden someone won. Like, oh wait, where'd that come from?
Well, I overheard you guys playing. You was like, this game was really fast. I'm sure we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, we didn't use the ability to move the board pieces very often because we could just get to where we wanted to in one turn. I'm not really sure if that was supposed to be, but
Well, you read the rules thoroughly, right?
I
Yeah.
think it would have been a little. It would have taken. It would have more complexity to it. Is if the goal cards had more than two. If there were three.
if you had to get all three, it would be pretty hard. But I think it would probably be more fun.
No, I don't think that it's not fun as is. I'm thinking that it would just
Yeah,
add
it's
like an added
friggin'
bonus.
awesome. We spent like 2 hours spending 8-minute games.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It was
High marks
really
for that.
fun. It was after we read through all the cards and played once or twice. It was really easy to understand, and after we got the hang of it, it would just be like boom, boom, boom with how we played. What do you got there?
I actually got probably my favorite part of this game. It's the little pegboard. This thing is amazing. All my
Let me see it. Let me see.
here you go.
Okay. So what I'm holding here, it's a little pegboard. It's got it has draw and then 4 holes for 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's got play with 4 holes, move with 4 holes, hand with a red mark through it like Ghostbusters, and 1, 2, and 3, or 3, 2, and 1.
And
then it's rotate, uproot, and wrap around.
Yeah, okay, these things are freaking awesome. Okay, how it was in Cthulhu Fluxx is you didn't have, everyone just kind of had to know, and you had to have a little stack of cards saying what the rules were.
Right.
This one, you get these little tiny pegs, and it actually, you just put them in each one of those.
That was super
And
helpful.
God, it was
Wow,
helpful, because
that's
think you just like, okay, because it actually says here on the instructions how to play, it's got the turn sequence. You got the draw, play, move, and then discard. So you follow that exactly. So it's like, okay, it is draw. How many do I draw? I draw 2. So you draw 2. It's like, okay, then I have to play 3 because it says 3 on the board.
That's cool. That's very
And
cool.
it, of course, being Fluxx, everything can change.
Well, you could
Right.
also, if you had a move of 4 and then a draw, you could actually move before you drew a card. And
I don't know if you're allowed to.
That's what you told me to do.
That's what I did. I don't know if I'm allowed to.
I'm pretty sure that it says
Well,
that you
the
can
rules
mix up
change.
the order.
The rules change.
Yeah.
So
No,
no one
I'm
knows.
pretty sure that it says that you can change it as you please.
There we go.
In
You can-
Flux, no one can hear you cheat.
It says right here. Note that you can play cards and make moves in any order,
Yeah, see?
including alternating between. Oh God.
Yeah, it could,
Everything can change.
yeah, that's how you got
I love
3
that.
gold cards in one move.
I only got 2. I almost got the third one, but you bumped me out of the way.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I think the only problem with this is that it's only 4 players.
Yeah,
You can only have 4
I would
players.
love it if it was like a 3x3, and no, not a 3x3, like a 6x6 instead of a 3x3.
Yeah.
Having a massive playboard with like 5 or 6, maybe 10 players all at once, having it
That
cover
would
the
be-
entire board, it would be amazing. Fluxx, do that.
You said
Okay,
something.
that would be
That's a good
awesome.
No, you said
Suggestion,
something
good
about the portals.
Oh,
in
the little portals. I didn't see you guys even notice them.
I
but-
didn't. I have no
Yeah,
idea
it-
what you were talking
Yeah,
about.
I thought you read the instructions later.
I did. I read most of them.
But there's
The basics.
there's a little portal. It's got it kind of looks like a square version of a
I
Stargate.
read all the rules a little.
I read all
I
of
read
them.
the ones I counted. Okay.
We read the ones that told you how to win the game. But,
Which is all of them twice.
Also, something I really like, you have to get more than one goal. You can't just goal and then win. You can't
Okay.
just win the game immediately. You have to get separate goals. Because if you had needed one, this game would be way too fast.
You could also you can also change how many goals is necessary, and that's
Yes.
something that I did like 3 times.
Yeah, she put it up to like what, 5?
Yes.
And you
wow.
kept me from winning.
Yes.
Which is the idea.
The audience can't hear my glare, but
That's the glare. That's a glare sound effect.
yeah. But
You were saying about the portals.
oh yeah, the portals. It does not take you. You move on to the little portal pieces, just like all of the other ones. Okay, actually, let me explain the board. The board is made up of what, nine little squares that each one of them can actually be moved if you have it enabled on the little pegboard, because you can actually. It's got 3 of them. It's got rotate, uproot, and wrap. To rotate is obvious. You turn them, and uprooting. I'm not entirely sure.
Uprooting is you move one square from one side and you put it on the other corner and then just move all the squares over.
Okay, it's kind of
Like stacking and then
like an old typewriter.
yeah,
Okay,
basically.
that makes sense. It's a weird way to explain it, but
Well, it makes sense.
it did made sense for me. I wonder how many of the audience got that. But and then there's the wraparound, which that would have been useful. You can actually move your pieces all the way around the board. You can walk off the edge and appear on the other side, which I could have won so many times.
But what
New strategy.
there are also
Yeah.
on these 9 tiles the middle one is a start and it has 4 arrows and
Yes.
then each of these 9 tiles has 4 pictures on them, and 3 of those pictures are pictures on gold cards, and the 4th picture is the octagon.
Yeah, the octagon is cool because, okay, no square can have more than one piece on it except the octagon and the start. The octagon has an unlimited number just like the start, but I'm pretty sure you can't actually go back onto the start, so you can only work around on the outside of the board.
You only can go back to the start if someone bumps you back to it.
Yeah, which happened to me all the time. I could have just walked off the side and been fine. But I won with this chocolate right here. This one has a rocket, chocolate, and a dude, and an octagon. That's Fluxx for you.
Okay.
I actually won, I think, twice with chocolate chip cookies. So, greatest
You
win.
always
It's the
win.
greatest
Yeah,
win
with chocolate
ever.
chip cookies is a win-win.
It really does have
No,
some
you
of the
won with
greatest wins.
Chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk and chocolate. I don't want the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, you did, but you won with the chocolate milk.
I had chocolate chip milk, else in it.
Chocolate chip milk,
cookies,
cookie milk.
chocolate milk. I had something else in there, but
He's gonna weigh 4,000 pounds.
also they have, if I remember correctly, they have 4 different colors, which it's really interesting because they have 3 pieces. Each person can have 3 pieces, up to 4 players, obviously, and they have these little card colors, which is awesome because you can actually switch. And I also won like that. You can switch which color all the players are.
Yeah, we didn't use that the
Cool.
first time because we didn't
Yeah,
know
we
how
didn't.
to use
We
it.
didn't actually know that those cards were in there, and we stumbled upon. I drew a yellow, and I was like, "Were we supposed to have these out?"
And then Ian drew like the color switch,
Oh,
and we had to rotate our cards once, and then
Yeah.
my little blue dudes.
Lyric
were
was literally
Ian's.
she was 1 piece. We were on movement 3, and she was 1 away from getting this gold card. And so I switched the colors. So I was her, and you can switch it clockwise or counterclockwise. So
Okay.
I switched to her color, and I got the goal with my move.
And he won.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Just pretty much so far, like I've only played Cthulhu Fluxx, which I am ashamed to have only played 1. But
Really? You only played one Fluxx game?
yeah, I've only played Cthulhu Fluxx.
What? We have other Fluxx games.
We have Ozflux.
Ozflux and
We need them
Cthulhu Flux,
all.
We have the pyramid games.
We need
and-
every one of them.
Yes, we do. And I visited a gaming store where they have all of them. They had Zombie Flux, Pirate Flux, and others that I had never heard of before. And I was so tempted to just blow all of my money.
Yeah, well, Fluxx is worth it. It's amazing. It's just fun to play, and it's a great time waster.
That's awesome.
It really is. It's just awesome in general.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you got the board everywhere. The board can move. You can move the board. It's like normally when you're playing a board game with rules that change, which I don't really know very many of those. But when you're playing a game that the rules changed randomly,
Right.
you can change it up to how you want. But then the next person who plays still has to deal with those rules. In Fluxx, they can change them back or in a different direction. And they can actually change the board on you. So if you're one piece away from moving, they can literally take they can take the board away from you. Which I think is an incredible amount of fun, because I love that level of strategy.
That's really cool.
Because the colors of the players can change, the amount of cards they can have changes, the amount they can play changes, the amount the pieces can move changes, where the pieces are can change.
The amount of cards they have in their hand can
The amount of
change.
cards they have in their hand can change, and the direction of the board can change.
So
It's like
nothing
you're trying
is constant
to. It's like
except
you're
for the
playing.
pictures.
It's like
That's
you're running
really
around on a giant Rubik's cube, trying to match the colors up with your face.
While someone's trying to manipulate it back
Exactly.
into place.
Yeah,
Oh, it is so fun.
it is really fun. We'll probably have to
Okay.
play it after this. 'Cause
That's it sounds like you're getting geared up to.
I really enjoy the Fluxx games.
Yeah.
It's a personal favorite for me.
That's cool.
I actually really enjoy kind of all board games, like Go.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Yeah. Well,
So-
you're a natural to go.
So do you
Okay.
have any specific questions about the Fluxx game?
Well, I think you guys have you've done a really good job of describing it. It's
Trying to make sure
based
there's
on
nothing
the-
I missed.
It's based on the card game, right?
I think so, yeah.
And
Now
and-
it's ported to iPhones and iPads and everything else. You can get it in the iStore.
What?
Flux?
Really?
Oh,
What?
that's cool.
Are you serious?
iFlux,
I'm definitely getting that.
Droid Flux.
That's awesome.
Well,
Do
I
you
had
have
to add something to it.
Flux
Do you
me.
have the ISBN number for it that you can read
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
readers?
Let's get the.
Where would I find that?
It's
that
on
would
the
be
box
on the.
somewhere.
It would be on the.
For the readers. For the listeners, I mean.
The readers are readers, people who are reading our radio show. Okay, so as I get this ISBN number out, what do you guys rate it from 1 to 4 axes?
Oh man,
I
we need a larger scale.
have to say the closest, maybe a total of 4. I mean, I it's not perfect because the rules were kind of complicated at first and they were a little bit hard to understand.
Well, all the Flux games that I've noticed, it's a bit of a learning curve.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have a very
But not
high
much
learning
anymore.
curve. You don't have to learn very much. You just have to learn it all at once.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know all of it, then there's things you could be missing.
Right.
But there are things that I could include that are better, like more players, a wider game
Yeah.
spread, more maybe higher goal cards, like having more than one or more than 2. So all of my suggestions are. They're not that they're doing something wrong. It's that they could do more to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's anything wrong with the game.
No, it's fine all on its own.
It's incredibly fun. I just want more of it.
So
It's hard to rate something that
that's-
you feel like is lacking, but you don't know if the game itself is lacking or if you just want more out of it.
That's a good complaint, I think.
Well,
We
I
want
think
more.
giving that as is, I would have to say a 4 out of 4. Because
out of
this is
4.
probably the best Fluxx game.
Blame?
Fluxx?
Beautiful.
Fluxx?
You'll get it.
The board game, Fluxx, is the best Fluxx game I have played.
Very well. Very well. Very well.
Very well.
Very well.
Very well.
Indeed.
You know, I think I'm probably gonna have to agree with that. Fluxx is one of the I think for its genre of game, it being, like just happy-go-lucky awesomeness, I think it probably just takes the cake and hilarity and just making people hate you at the same time.
Well, it's weird because it put us at ends, but at the same time we're like, oh darn
Yeah,
you.
it wasn't like, dude, you just won.
Fiddlesticks.
I now hate you. I'm going to murder you in your sleep now. This game is like, oh, you won. My turn.
Basically.
So
Yeah.
how many axes are you giving it?
I don't want to give it maximum because there are a few things I had trouble with, but that may
Yeah.
just be me and not the game.
Okay. So you can break it up into
Yeah, I'm thinking.
3 point 7-9 stars. Stars.
Stars.
Axes.
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 I guess I'll give it a 3.8 out of 4
3.8 out of 4. Okay.
because it's almost perfect. It's almost
But
the best.
the limited number of players.
The limited number of players.
My
I think that's almost it. Actually,
my rating still stands at 4. 4 out of 4.
For a 4-player game, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Josh, what do you think?
There's nothing else I can say.
Thank you very much. So how many axes are you gonna bestow?
4 out of 4.
4 out of 4. Okay, well, that is awesome. I can't wait to play it myself, and I'm really sorry that I was busy doing other things at the time this was being played.
You're never
but
busy enough to not play Fluxx.
well, that's true. That's true. This is Fluxx the Board Game, and it can be found at LooneyLabs.com. The SKU number is LOO-055. It is $30 MSRP. LIB MRP.
It's worth it.
It's 2 to 4 players. It says 20 to 40 minutes of playtime, but
It may take a lot shorter.
it may
Yeah.
not take as long.
Also,
as
depending on
much.
tactical your players are.
Right, and right, yeah. If they
I can see
actually
that if you're
start-
playing with younger kids, it would take longer.
Yeah.
but-
Oh man, this is probably great with children.
And yeah, I bet it would be.
Yeah.
I bet it would be. And so the ISBN number is 857-848-004024. And that is Fluxx from our wonderful friends at Looney Labs. I highly recommend you go out and buy 6 or 7 of these games each.
One of each?
Each game's buy
If you
5
bought-
copies of
If
each
you bought
game.
multiple copies of this game, could you just add the board together?
Maybe. They have 12 game titles. They've sold over 1 million units. They have games that are from 2 to 6 players. What else? Gameplay in 50 to 20 minutes. These are all the Fluxx Cards games. And they have licensing from Back to the Future and Monty Python, which Monty Python Fluxx.
No, they do
is-
have that. I saw
Yeah,
it. Oh,
yeah,
that would be so fun.
yeah. I think
We haven't
we'll have
I
to
think
look
that if you
up
actually go into gaming stores, they have a special card that you can get with it that's on display at the gaming stores.
That's awesome.
So I think that Fluxx, the board game, is a huge axe up, maybe even a battle cry. I don't know. And it's on the average of about 4.9 axes for those of us who have played it,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. So we are going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to mention a little project that I was involved in that I think you'll all be interested in hearing about. So we'll be right back. This is Dwarven Tavern Radio. And we're back. And that song that you just heard was called Smoke and Mirrors. And that is a work of mine. I was commissioned to do this work for a movie. It's a short film that's coming out by producer and writer Sandy Slavin, who is a wonderful human being. Lyric, that other voice you heard on there was Lyrics. And it was a really interesting thing when I first wrote it, because we really didn't know where to go with it or what to do with it, and then it all just kind of gelled, and then Lyric brought her amazing. I don't know. What would you call that voice? I mean,
That was my 6-year-old little boy.
6-year-old
square
little boy
voice.
Okay.
There was no. I don't sound like an adult woman at all when I sing that
Your
song.
David Copperfield voice, but I thought it was perfect for the thing, for the tune itself. I mean, it fit obviously, since it sounded so well, and the filmmakers loved it so much. But Smoke and Mirrors can be found online. If you go on Facebook and do a search for Smoke and Mirrors, you will see.
I think it's Smoke and Mirrors, the film.
The film, okay, Smoke and Mirrors, the film. But it is widely being advertised on Facebook, I think mostly. And if you do a search for Jeff Goins and Smoke and Mirrors on YouTube, you will find this It's just the song with a little logo that I made for Smoke and Mirrors. It's
And
not
you can
actually part
listen
of the
to
film.
it. You can listen to it as much as you want without listening to us jabber around it.
Yeah, jabber around it. Yeah.
You can play it on your playlist for as long as you want.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
yours.
That's it's all yours, and it's a pleasure to bring music to people. If you want to send me millions of dollars, I will certainly accept it. But this is, for me, it's a labor of love, and I'm not doing it for the fame or the fortune, which is an absolute lie. I would love to be famous and fortunate,
Yeah.
Well,
but that's not why I'm doing it. I do music for the love of music.
Are you taking requests for everybody?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking of fortune, at least, there is Axe Head Studios and VDQ Music on iTunes and other,
That's right.
like, what is it, Radio Baby? Or
CD Baby.
CD Baby. And
CD
then
Baby.
there are tons of websites where you can find his music.
Yeah, I have a CD on iTunes. Actually, I just somebody just emailed me and told me they bought a copy of my meditation music, which is a CD called Audio Stereograms, and then another one was in a group that I was in called Vic Daniels Quartet, and those are both available on iTunes. So please feel free to go and buy a bunch of those each.
I have also heard
One
that
for
you-
each Fluxx game that you buy. You could buy one of my CDs.
I've also heard that Axe Head Studios might be coming out with a new CD.
It is starting to look that way. Yeah.
You got a lot of solos that you're putting into one
Mm-hmm.
conjunction.
Yeah, into the grand conjunction. And all the Skeksis will go back into the Mystics, and you will see
Throwback.
A bunch of skinny old men with trees for hair. That's what happened. That's what Dark Crystal is.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Another late alert. So, that is just about all the time we have for this show. We do want to remind everybody to come and see us at Gen Con this year. We're going to be there all 4 days, as far as I know, hanging out in the exhibitor halls and thusly and thatly and hither and yon. So look for the Dwarven Tavern T-shirts and hats. If we might have hats. I don't know.
And even
I can't find a hat that'll fit my big head.
even if you even if you can't find us at Gen Con, you'll be able to find us online and this just fell over, guys. It's
Oh, it sounded like freaking catastrophic death was just through the ceiling. God.
table 5.
Table 5.
But even if you can't find us at Gen Con, you can always find us on Facebook, and you can
Yes.
find us at Gen Con at
You can find us at Gen Con, or you can find us at Gen Con.
well, it's the only place you can
We
find
might
us.
also be in a Gen Con in the parking garage for bicycles.
But you can, if you
Bucket of balls
Full of bicycles.
full of bicycles.
But you'll be able to find us online at Facebook and at dwarventavern.net.
DwarvenTavern.net, and yeah. So that's we're all over. We're just everywhere. So on behalf of the entire cast and crew of Dwarven Tavern Radio Show, I am your host, Jeff Goins.
I'm Lyric Goins.
I'm the shadow.
The Shadow!
I'm Ian Goins.
And we want for you to wish for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.